So again, thanks a lot for inviting me to this webinar organized by Closer. So I will first, in this presentation, I will first present the French plan for open science and its main measures. I will then propose an assessment of the measures put in place so far. In particular, we'll present the results of a survey on open science that you already mentioned, John, on open science policies adopted by higher education research institutes in France. I will briefly present two initiatives that are supported by the French Ministry, the Open Science Monitoring Initiative and the Global Research Initiative on Open Science. So in France, a first plan for open science was adopted in 2018. On 2021, a second plan was adopted that was structured in 4 parts. The first one was generalizing on open science, open access to publications. The second path concerned structuring, sharing, and opening up research data. The third one, opening up and promoting source codes, so software produced by research. And the first one, transforming practices to make open science the default principle. These paths were further developed in 12 main measures, and in total, the plan proposed the implementation of 102 measures. So the Committee for Open Science is in charge of the implementation of the plan. It is coordinated by the Open Science Office at the Ministry where I work, and it is made of representatives from research, French universities, research institutes, financial bodies, research libraries, and in particular, there are colleges and experts groups like the Research Data College that are in charge of investigating issues and proposing guidelines and managing projects to implement the measures of the plan. To detail a bit more the measures included in the plan, in the framework of the first path, there is, for example, the generalization of the obligation to publish in open science, in open access, for publicly funded research projects. The support for the diamond model of publishing and the encouragement of the circulation of scientific knowledge by translating research publications. One of the concrete measures included in the plan, in this first path, is, for example, the support for HAL. HAL is the French Open Archive. In the framework of the second path, the measures aim at developing support centers and infrastructures to encourage the sharing of the research data and the management of the data according to the FAIR principles. The overall aim is to promote research data reuse. Among the measures proposed in the plan, there is the creation of Research Data Gov. Research Data Gov is a national research platform, a national research data platform, which includes a data repository and a data catalog to be used by researchers when they don't have an institutional repository or a disciplinary repository to use for their data. Research Data Gov is also an ecosystem of competence centers. So there are general and thematic support centers that provide help for researchers to manage their data. The third path, the third path was quite new for the French open science policy, and it deals with the encouragement of the dissemination of open source license for software and the promotion and the valorization of codes and software production in France. One of the measures is the support for software heritage. Software heritage is an archive, worldwide archive of source codes that covers source codes and softwares produced in France, but also around the world, as I said. So the last path concerns the development of skills and to encourage open science practices, and also the inclusion of open science among the criteria considered in research assessment. And the aim was to foster long-term open science practices. Among the measures promoted in this fourth path, there is the publication of open science guides, what we called open science passeport pour la science ouverte, donc the passports that I aim to PhD students. There is also the Open Science Award for PhD students, and this is one of the 3 awards, Open Science Awards, that are put in place in France. There is also the award for the Open Science Award for research data, and an Open Science Award for software. There is also the support to QUARA, the Coalition for Advancing Research Assessment, and support for projects that developed research on research, such as GRIOS, the Global Research Initiative on Open Science, that is aimed to elaborate evidence-based policies. So the second plan in France has come to an end last year. So it is time to provide an assessment of the implemented policy. To that, we have a qualitative assessment. We consider the deliverables of the Committee for Open Science, some quantitative indicators from the French Open Science Monitor, and the results of the survey on open science policies adopted by French higher education research institutes. And I will present these elements in the following slides. As to the qualitative assessment this is done for the main measures of the plan. So we put a star when we consider that the measure is at an initial level of implementation, 2 stars when it is partially implemented, 3 when it is advanced, and 4 stars when the measure has been accomplished, it's achieved. In general, the measures of the first and the second path are more advanced compared to the measures of the third and the first part, which concern the software, and the fourth part, the development of skills for open science, to implement open science in practice, and open science in research assessment. The Committee for Open Science has so far produced 82 deliverables. So I mentioned already the Open Science Passports, these guides for PhD students. There are also some videos to start with open science, some additional guides, and 68 studies, reports, and also online tools. All these productions are available through our website, so the website of the Committee for Open Science, which is ouvrirlascience.fr. This website is entirely translated in English. The studies and reports produced by the committee are also are deposited, so are available, are downloadable from HAL, the French archive. And so here I put some numbers about these websites. For example, our committee, our documents have been downloaded about 35,000 times from HAL. We are also on the social networks, and on our website we publish posts and newsletters. And there is also a page in the website of the ministry dedicated to open science. So as to the quantitative indicators to evaluate the policy, so we have the French Open Science Monitor. Also, this website is completely translated in English. The last edition of this of the monitor was published in January 2025, and here you have some key figures. I will not detail them a lot. I will not go into the details. I can say that there has been a 29 points increase as to the publication in open science since 2018. The year of the adoption of the first plan for open science in France. 72% of doctoral theses are open access, but we have still a lot to do as to the sharing of clinical trial results and the sharing of data, codes, and software linked to scientific publications. And this Open Science Monitor is also set up at a local level by some universities, 70 universities and research institutes in France. In the last edition of the French monitor, Open Science Monitor, we published a new indicator, which is the number of higher education research institutes with an open science policy. This number passed from 3% in 2018, the year of the adoption of the first plan, up to 57.5% in 2024. And the increase was particularly important after the adoption of the second plan in 2021. So there is clearly how can I say, before and after the national policy in France. This indicator is drawn from the survey we carried out at the beginning of 2024 about open science policies adopted by the French higher education research institutes, and it will be updated through reports made by the institutes to the ministry and through systematic monitoring which is done by the ministry. So the survey that I mentioned already was carried out, as I said, at the beginning of 2024. The respondents were 105 higher education research institutes. So I put here in the slides the DOI of the report, which is only in French, and also the DOI of the dataset. So the main results of this survey show that the national policy, so the national initiatives are very welcome and well received by the French institutes. Open science policies adopted by the French institutes are aligned with the national policy. There is more and more people working in open science. The French institutes implement strategies in all the aspects of open science, but there are still challenges to overcome to complete the transition to open science. Just to detail a bit more the results, so the large majority of respondents consider the French plan for open science useful or very useful. And also the guides, the guides to open science are quite well received, and also the other initiatives, as you can see. 57% of the respondents adopted a framework document describing its open science policy, and these documents address all the aspects of open science, even if we can say that research assessment and codes and software are less dealt with in these documents. So most of the respondents have appointed a person in charge of open science, and there are also people in charge of helping researchers in the implementation of open science practices. As to the strategies put in place, most have implemented specific measures to encourage open science publishing. and 30% of the respondents have an institutional data repository, in particular within research data, within the national portal research.gov. So a lower proportion of respondents has developed strategies about algorithms, codes, and software. This includes a software development environment, for example, and a specific policy to promote software production. The training offered, the training in open science is quite well developed. But on the other hand, open science is not yet central in the research assessment criteria. So at the end of the survey, we asked about the barriers perceived in the transition towards open science. This question was already asked in 2029 in a survey run by the European University Association. So we can compare the answers provided in 2020 and in 2024. So there are some barriers that have increased and others that have decreased. This is due to the different level of implementation of the national policy in 2024 compared to 2020. For example, in 2024, there is a greater perception of resistance towards the sharing of data because we increasingly ask to share the data. There is more concern about costs because the demand has increased, and there is a greater perception of lack of support because the demand for support has increased. Similarly, there is less concern about the legal framework and lack of incentives because the national policy has done a lot to explain the legal framework and also to explain the advantages of adopting an open science approach. So I'm approaching the end of my presentation. So I wanted to present this initiative supported by the ministry, the Global Research Initiative on Open Science, because we are reaching now a stage in open science policy. So the first plan was adopted in 2018. We are now at a time when we need to stop and consider what we have done so far, and we need to elaborate new policies. So for that, now more than ever, we need evidence-based information. And GRIOS, this project, allows to have this evidence-based information. So to think of evidence-based policies. The project was developed in the framework of the G7 Working Group on Open Science. So this communiqué adopted in 2023 that we contributed to write and to adopt was calling for research on research to promote effective open science policymaking. So the benefits of GRIOS are GRIOS help to understand progress and challenges in open science, to evaluate the implemented measures, to identify the barriers that still exist and the best strategies, and to identify evidence-based policies. The first aim, the first objective for GRIOS is to produce in-depth reviews on existing research on open science, not only considering researches in English, but also including other languages. So really like worldwide review of existing literature. The second objective is to formulate recommendations based on the results of the reviews. The third one is to identify gaps in the current knowledge, and so to propose a research agenda to fill the gaps. And in general, the objective is to develop, to establish a global network of organizations and researchers committed to the development of open science. So here you have a first set of research questions that GRIOS can help to answer. The impact of open science, not only the impact on research, but on society in general, and the economic impact. The assessment of open science, of the policies adopted so far, the skills we need, the infrastructures we need, and the indicators, the quantitative indicators we need to assess the policies. So GRIOS is developed at the European Science Foundation in Strasbourg in France. Here you have the partners that support GRIOS, and there is some French partners, but also the Dutch Research Council, and we are currently looking for other partners. And the GRIOS will be launched at the Meta Research Conference in London in July. The other initiative is the Open Science Monitoring Initiative. This initiative aims to develop common principles, to develop common indicators to assess open science policies. It is also, this initiative was developed in the framework of the G7 Working Group on Open Science. And it is developed with the collaboration of UNESCO. So here you have the aims, and I put here the working groups of this initiative, which are still open to join. So you can have a look yourself if you are interested. And with this, I ended my presentation. Thank you very much, and I will be very happy to hear from your questions.